It's 2025, and Donald Trump has done it again. With a stroke of his pen, the US has slammed the world with a new wave of tariffs. 10% across the board, 145% for China. Liberation Day, he calls it. But to the rest of the world, it feels more like economic doomsday. Why does Trump love tariffs so much? Is it just about protecting American jobs? Or is this part of a much bigger geopolitical strategy? As China, Europe, and even US allies begin to push back, one thing is clear: Trump's trade war is far from over, and the global economy, it may never be the same again. Segment 1. The strategy behind Trump's tariffs. To understand Trump's obsession with tariffs, we need to go back to his first term. His economic philosophy was always simple: America first. In his view, the US had been ripped off for decades, especially by China. Tariffs were his chosen weapon. In 2018, he triggered a global trade war by slapping billions in tariffs on steel, aluminum, and Chinese goods. Critics called it reckless. But Trump saw something different: leverage. For him, tariffs aren't just an economic tool. They're geopolitical chess moves. They give the US control. They force other countries, friends or foes, to the negotiating table. In 2025, that strategy hasn't changed. What has changed is the scale. Today, Trump isn't just targeting China. He's throwing tariffs at the EU, Canada, Mexico, even BRICS nations like Brazil and South Africa. This isn't about fixing trade imbalances anymore. This is about realigning the global economic order, with the US at the top. But what's the cost? Let's find out. Segment 2. The global fallout. Allies and enemies react. The world didn't take long to react. China hit back hard, slapping steep retaliatory tariffs on American goods. Tech, agriculture, energy, you name it. Beijing made it clear: if Trump wants a trade war, they're ready to fight. Europe's response? Just as furious. US allies like Germany and France blasted the tariffs as hostile, calling them a direct attack on free trade. Some European leaders have even floated the idea of bypassing the US dollar altogether. Canada and Mexico, once part of the USMCA agreement, are now reconsidering their economic ties with Washington. Canadian officials have called Trump's tariffs an act of betrayal. Even BRICS nations, who were already forming their own economic bloc, see this as confirmation. The US can no longer be trusted as a stable trade partner. In short, Trump's tariffs are doing more than disrupting trade. They're isolating America, fueling a new wave of global realignment that's no longer centered around Washington. And the consequences? They're hitting closer to home than you might think. Segment 3. The economic shockwave in America. Back in the US, the impact is immediate and painful. Markets react with panic. The Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P 500 all tumbles. Tech stocks take the hardest hit. Apple, Nvidia, and Tesla, companies deeply reliant on global supply chains, bleed billions overnight. For American consumers, it's déjà vu. Prices are climbing again. From groceries to electronics, imported goods are now more expensive. Inflation, which had just started to cool off, is picking up steam. And for small businesses, it's a nightmare. Tariffs mean higher input costs, lower margins, and uncertain futures. Some are already laying off workers or closing altogether. Farmers, too, are caught in the crossfire. China was once their biggest customer. But with Beijing retaliating, US agriculture exports are piling up with nowhere to go. Trump says this is necessary pain, that the US has to take the hit now to come out stronger later. But as the economy slows and public frustration grows, even some of his supporters are asking, is it worth it? Segment 4. Trump's endgame: power, leverage, and legacy. So what's Trump really after? He's not just fighting over steel and semiconductors. This is about reshaping America's role in the global economy and his place in history. Trump sees tariffs as leverage, as a tool to bend allies and rivals alike to America's will. And in his second presidency, he's going bigger, bolder, and with fewer restraints. He believes the global system built after World War II, free trade, multinational alliances, globalism, no longer serves American interests. So he's tearing it down, one tariff at a time. Critics say it's reckless, that it alienates allies, hurts consumers, and destabilizes markets. But for Trump, that's the point. You don't fix the system by playing nice. You fix it by breaking it. His supporters call it strength. His enemies call it chaos. But either way, this is Trump's legacy in motion, an economic war to redefine the 21st century. And the ripple effects? They're only just beginning. Segment 5. China strikes back, and Trump wants a deal. China didn't just respond with words, they responded with action. On April 12th, Beijing imposed sweeping retaliatory tariffs on over 200 US goods, everything from soybeans and aircraft parts to American cars and tech components. And just like that, the trade war went nuclear. US farmers are once again left stranded. Automakers are in a panic, and Wall Street, it's bracing for more pain. But then Trump makes a move no one saw coming. Just days after launching the harshest tariffs yet, he opens the door to negotiation. Speaking in Florida, Trump said he's open to a fair deal with China, one that brings jobs back to America and ends what he calls decades of economic betrayal. It's classic Trump, turn up the heat, then offer a handshake. But this time, China isn't so quick to the table. Trust is broken. The world is watching. And the question now isn't just whether there will be a deal, it's whether anyone still wants one. Segment 6. Vietnam bends the knee, a 46% tariff shock. Vietnam, once a beneficiary of the US-China trade tensions, now finds itself in the crosshairs. President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs have imposed a staggering 46% duty on Vietnamese imports, the highest among Southeast Asian nations. This move has sent shockwaves through Vietnam's export-driven economy. The VN index plummeted by 7%, marking one of its steepest declines. In response, Vietnam has taken unprecedented steps. The Ministry of Industry and Trade has directed companies to tighten controls over the origin of goods, aiming to combat fraud and reduce reliance on Chinese materials. Moreover, in a bid to appease the US, Vietnam's top leader, Tu Lam, offered a 0% tariff on American goods in exchange for lowering tariffs against Vietnam. Despite ASEAN's collective efforts to present a united front, Vietnam's swift concessions highlight the immense pressure smaller economies face in the global trade arena. Segment 7. Even G7 allies are cracking. Canada eyes the EU? If you think it's just smaller economies feeling the heat, think again. Even Canada, one of America's closest allies and a proud member of the G7, showing signs of breaking under the pressure. After Trump slapped 25% tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, again, Canada's economy took a hit. Supply chains were rattled. Jobs in manufacturing and agriculture were put at risk. And what's the most shocking response? Top Canadian media outlets and lawmakers are now openly discussing a once unthinkable option, joining the European Union? Yes, the EU. With Trump treating trade like a weapon, some Canadian leaders argue it's time to diversify away from the US and build deeper ties with Europe. Shared democratic values, a strong free trade agreement, and cultural closeness are fueling the debate. Even European officials have welcomed the idea, pointing to Canada's alignment with EU values on democracy, social policy, and climate. It's a stunning reversal of roles. America's longtime allies, countries that once stood by Washington through wars, recessions, and crises, are now questioning their future under Trump's economic empire. And this is just the beginning. Watch this video, and I'll see you there.